April 17th, I'm sorry, the May 17th, 2021 meeting of the Katuitt Fire District Prudential Committee to order. We'll start with the roll call. Seth?
Seth Burdick, Prudential, here.
Paul Hanley, Prudential Committee here.
Ray?
Ray Perron, treasurer here.
Charlie?
Kelly Eager, clerk here.
Fran Parks Prudential, present. Okay, can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge of allegiance to the flag and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. Ray, we'll start with your report.
Hopefully you all received it. It was a little bit late getting it out. I usually try to get it out Sunday night, but didn't go out until this morning. The overall reading the revenue line and well within the budget on the expenditure lines. So the headline is a good report. Underneath that, the tax collections still seem to lag. Current collections are down 4% from last year. Prior year are down even $36,000. Paul had asked me last meeting if I could identify what that causes, and it's hard to do because basically the records are with the town, and while they're very cooperative, they are circumspect about what they share, understandably so. My guess is some of it is COVID, but I can't be sure of that. It's a little unusual. Usually we'll lag maybe 2% on the current year collections. So 4%, 4.5%, a little bit high. It's no worry overall because the water department had that wonderful summer, and they have more than made up for the minor shortfall on the taxes. In fact, water department is traveling at 130% of the budget at this point, where we're only supposed to be at 83%. But that said, their billings are really all in now. They just have a few minor things that will bill out between now and the end of the year. So they're really where they're going to end up, which is almost $1.4 million versus a budget of 1.1 million. Fire department on budget, ambulance standing at 187,000 versus a budget of 227, 82% versus our April target of 83. And in the other category, we picked up that 41,000 from COVID last month, which makes that look very strong. But overall, we're standing at 93% on our revenue versus where we should be at 83. So that augurs well for free cash when we measure that at the end of the year. On the expenditure side, again, we're at 83% overall, which is exactly where we should be. There is some noise underneath. On the Prudential, which is standing at 80%, I believe I'm going to be asking the committee to allocate some money from the reserve to cover salaries in the Prudential, the finance department salaries. I did a number a couple of weeks ago. I think it looked like about $7,000 or $8,000 that we will exceed our budget. And the reason for that excess is the COVID grant work that Lisa had to do, which was very detailed, very expensive, very extensive, and financing. COVID generated well over $100,000 in savings, so I think that that's a worthwhile investment. The fire department stands at $71,000. Salaries are down because of the lack of overtime. Good fortune that our injury time is down. And in the expense side, it's generally down overall. Part of that, I think, again, is a bit of the COVID impact of not being able to get work done in the early part of the year. Water department, they're standing at 73%. They had some savings in the salary line when the assistant superintendent left. They actually used up some of that savings by granting the standing staff a wage increase, which is well within their authority to do so. And they'll be replacing, they have replaced the assistant superintendent with a new, less experienced individual. Freedom Hall is, again, reflects the COVID impact. We haven't been able to have Lee in there. He's actually done some volunteer work, but he's not back there at the same amount of time that he usually does. And as a consequence, a lot of the expenses that we normally would incur have not happened, again, because it's hard to get things done when we don't have the people there. Street lights are below budget. The electricity is coming in less than I had anticipated, and the repairs are well below what I had anticipated. Debt service is slightly over, and there are two adjustments to that. Number one, the adjustment is coming out of the special district meeting that authorized the refinancing. We'll be adding to the budget figures that you saw on the expenditure report that went out to authorize the retirement of the entire short-term debt, which was authorized at that special district meeting. What is showing is that 3% excess is actually an overpayment of long-term interest for which we received the refund a week ago. So that will end up being right on budget as projected. Benefits are running below. Really, the primary reason for that is medical insurance. We've been able to take advantage of the medical option, which is lowered cost, and also we had some savings in OPED, I believe, but primarily it's health insurance on that line. Transfers show 101%, and I believe that is due to a overtransfer to the water department stabilization, and I'm not sure how that happened, but I will be looking into that. The water department transfer to stabilization is predicated on their number of meters and their ability to collect on that number of meters. Their collections fell slightly short, and the bylaw mandates that I adjust next year's contribution for that shortfall. It appears that that may not have happened, and that accounts for the 1% over budget in transfers. Library on budget. The articles, I won't go through them all. It's basically laid out in Article 18, where we're asking the voters to close out a number of articles, cover a couple of deficiencies, and those deficiencies arose basically because we thought we were covering them But the auditors pointed out that the Prudential Committee cannot transfer money in an article. They can simply close an article. So we rescinded that move by the Prudential, and we'll be closing it out with the proper authority of the annual district meeting and using those funds to cover the deficit and provide $31,000 additional to the space needs study, which will bring that up to something like $42,000 available for the space needs in 2022. That's basically what I had. Are there any questions?
Seth, question?
Nope, none for me.
Paul?
Likewise. Nice report. Thanks, Ray.
Okay. Thank you, Ray. So the next topic is the annual district meeting. We have permission to have it at the school. Ray has gotten the liability coverage, the rider that we need for it. Charlie, can you find out what time Jerry wants to be let into the building?
Between 6 and 6:30.
Okay.
I talked to him today.
Oh, great. And
And I told him I'd be a setup, so he may have sound equipment in the classroom too.
yeah. So, Paul, Rude, Chief Rude?
Yes.
So I have a quandary. Now that the governor is gotten rid of the mask, this is just so screwing us up. The mask stuff as of the 29th, which is 2 days after our meeting. I'm going to try and talk to the people at the health department in the town of Barnstable. I have little or no hope this will work, but to see if they'll let us put chairs 3 feet apart instead of 6. So we might not need that other room. But Paul and I have talked about this, and the thought was to put a TV in the first classroom on the right and chairs and a microphone if somebody wanted to ask a question in case we have an overload of people coming to the meeting. I have absolutely no sense of interest in coming to the meeting. Seth, have your customers?
Yeah, I mean, I've been hearing about it. I mean, a lot of, not as much as I expected, though. People seem to have gotten right into the idea of summer. So that's what I'm hearing about.
Terrific.
I still have the conversation with people pretty often, but I'm not really sure. I suspect there will be a lot of people there. How many in the cafetorium, how many seats are we going to be set for roughly, do you think?
I have no idea what the capacity of that is. We need to bring the chairs and tables down from Freedom Hall. And then I estimated there are probably maybe 75 to 100 chairs already at the school. And we can certainly use those.
I'm just wondering about square footage in terms of how many people will actually fit into that room to start with.
Paul,
And it
don't you
will
have
be-
that?
I did the AutoCAD drawing. I think did I say 82? Does that sound right?
Something
I
like
think it
that.
fits 82 seats if every seat's 4 feet apart. So if we did 2 seats together and then each group of 2 4 feet apart, we should be well over 100.
And that's with the current guideline, is 4 feet, or did they say 4 or 6
Yeah.
or,
No, the current guideline is 6 feet.
right? We're gonna just 4.
I don't know.
I know, it's kind of confusing. We haven't spoken with the health department though, with their, and see what they had to say.
Well, I actually tried speaking to them at when we had our first one outdoors, and they were absolutely adamant that it had to be 6 feet apart. And I'm
Right.
going, oh yeah,
So
okay.
I doubt it's changed, I guess. I haven't heard from them at all relative to the store and things, and you'd think that they'd be, not that I want them to come around, but
Yeah.
I'm not, it's only 2 days between when our meeting is and when all the things are relaxed. But I'm sure knowing them, they'll want us to be.
Well, that's the other thing. He said the masks are relaxed and places can go back to 100% capacity.
Right.
What I didn't hear anyone say was, and just forget the 6 feet when you're sitting down, which was a bogus number anyway, but that's irrelevant.
It'll be a rocky rollout. I'm already seeing it personally, just with masks and things, and people are, I can only imagine. I suppose we should err on the side of caution though, and assume that it should be, we'll have to use the overflow room and
Yeah.
imagine that there are 70 seats in the cafetorium and then however many fit in. I mean, I suppose we could imagine 100 people would be a reasonable number to plan for.
Yeah, I think that's, I think we need to plan for at least 100. So I'll get together with Paul about, he said there's a TV at the station he can bring down to put in that room. And we'll go from there.
You may have people who just individually or personally want to be more cautious, and maybe will want to go into the overflow room because they don't feel comfortable in the main room.
And will we be doing the simulcast? Well, obviously not for participation because we can't legally do it, but will there be a broadcast of it? No, just a recording.
No, we're only towns that have town meeting representatives can do Zoom meetings. So I don't want, if we do a Zoom meeting and somebody manages to start asking questions on Zoom, and it's not gonna float.
Brad, I found the drawing I came up with. If you do 6 feet apart, every single chair in every row, you fit 61 on the floor and 6 on the stage.
Well,
on this, that would be, how many do we have to put all of us onto the
That's
stage?
6
Is that
feet
where we're all,
apart.
meaning all the commissioners are going to be on the stage?
well, I don't think we necessarily have to put everybody on the stage. The Prudential Committee, the moderator, the clerk, and the attorney and the treasurer need to be on the stage. And I think, I don't even remember last year.
I think we just had we had 3 big tables, I remember, in front.
Just a
where
big long
everybody
line of
was.
tables, yeah. The other thing I thought about was maybe splitting the cafeteria into 2 sections, with a central aisle. And then on one side, having the seats 3 feet apart. And then on the other side, having the seats 6 feet apart.
Yeah, are we going to be obligated to do any kind of, and I know that obviously because we're at the very end of this, but are we obligated to do any kind of contact tracing? I just, when I think of the health department, I think of that kind of thing.
No,
I don't
that's
know if we have to. I mean,
that's their
is that-
job. That's
Right.
their job, not ours. It's contact tracing. All right, well, we'll figure it out. So did you want to discuss public comment?
A little bit. I mean, so we didn't obviously have a policy advisory committee meeting prior to, or, this meeting or after the other one. But, as far as this policy goes, I looked at it again today and I thought, if we cut it back to as it read, you read it as it was kind of long. And if we just said it should be the policy of the Katuitt Fire District that all committees and subcommittees be required to place public comment on their posted agendas, with the exception of.
Well, just let me give you one exception. One exception is the firefighters contract negotiating
Right,
team.
that's what I was thinking with union negotiations
Yeah,
or
the union negotiations. Yeah.
negotiations on the chief's contract or things of that nature. Could we if we put it with a rider like that, with the exception of a specific instant, or would that be too clunky?
I think it's too much micromanaging.
Right.
The open meeting law does not require us to have public comment. They
Right.
encourage it, but it's not required. And I think that, everybody will try and do their best. But if somebody wishes to speak about the contract negotiation for the firefighters, the appropriate time to do that is at a fire commissioners meeting, because this is how it works. The fire commissioners come up with whatever they want for the contract, and the firefighters come up with what they want. Then we have an initial meeting and exchange our lists. And that's the end of the initial meeting.
Right.
Then at the second meeting, we discuss it, and generally the lists are accepted. Paul, if I'm wrong, stop me. And then that's it. There can't be any changes to what is on the wants of either side after the second meeting. That's it. Those are the only things you can discuss. So there is, there's no point in public comment
Right,
because.
and I can see that. I just think, insofar as the public comment policy would be concerned, I just think it's good for the discourse, and I think people will appreciate it. I mean, if we could put it on with the exception of union negotiations or something, I don't know. What do you think, Paul? Paul Hanley, that is.
Yeah. I was going to say, I agree with you. I think there's a way, you can do a statement. I mean, I think Fran just said it very well, which is, while this is not required, we encourage public comment as a principle.
Yeah.
There are times that require, exceptions where public comment, is not allowed, whether it's union negotiations or others that, may come up. I mean, you've got to leave yourself some wiggle room there. But I think if it is not required, then I think it's only to our benefit to have a policy that says that it's not required, but we encourage it. And it shows, that we want that public comment. There are exceptions, but
remember when we talked about it was in the policy, or not the capital improvement plan, where we switched required to expected, or no, it was with the bylaw change that we were talking about last time.
Yeah.
Expected versus required as a word. It should be the policy, or that all subcommittees and so on be expected as opposed to required. I don't know that applies. That would make it so clear to.
Yeah. I would change that to encouraged.
Encouraged, expected.
Encouraged to have
What do you
public
think,
comment.
Paul?
we encourage public comment. We expect public comment.
I just feel like
I'm fine with either. I'm fine with both of those, to be honest. We encourage and expect public comment. I think both of them. You're not requiring yourself to anything. You still have plenty of room, to make exceptions where it's not appropriate, as Fran indicates. But I don't see a downside to encouraging and expecting public comment. Puts us on the right side of the ledger, I think, without constraining us.
So should we, if I amend it again and make something similar to that, would you want to vote? Should we vote on it? Or would you prefer to have it at the next meeting? Or does it have if we said it should be the policy of the Katuitt Fire District that all committees and subcommittees be expected, not expected, but encouraged. So encouraged and expected, or maybe just encouraged to place public comment on their posted agendas without all the continuation of it in an effort to maintain so on and so on, but just have it be that. This should be the policy of the Katuitt Fire District that all committees and subcommittees are encouraged to place public. I like expected personally, but because it still leaves you the option to not do it.
No, I don't think expected leaves you the options to not do it.
Well, it was like with the bylaw changing expected to required to expected left the option to not have a meeting relative to what the previous bylaw was. I mean, it's just a little bit stronger, that's all, as opposed to encouraged.
Yeah, the last time we talked about expected was in a different context, and I think people felt that it didn't require, it wasn't a requirement, it was an expectation. But if that expectation wasn't met, then that wasn't something
No
that
action as a result of it not being met.
The last time we talked about it in that context, expected was, didn't take away all of your ability to not fulfill it. So from the last discussion, it seems that expect does still allow for some wiggle room there.
expected. That's fine. I think this is all a tempest in a teapot personally, and,
Right, well,
you know.
I know, it's just, of course. Well, if you want, we can talk about it at the next meeting if you want, if you don't want to vote on it now.
No, let's,
No.
no, let's do it now.
All right,
Clean
let's
up,
do it.
get it
All
out of here.
right, we'll just get it over with. All right. So then I move to accept the policy as stated. I'm going to state it now. It should be the policy of the Katuitt Fire District that all committees and subcommittees be expected to place public comment on their posted agendas.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Did you not want to say encourage as well? Sorry,
Do you want to add encourage in there?
That's fine. I don't know where now, never mind.
All right, we'll stick with expected, and then was that all right, Paul? Will you vote for that?
And then can you just send me a copy of that?
I will.
Okay.
I'll write it or type it. So was
I
that a leak?
second it.
All right.
So, we had a tour of the school on Saturday. And we had about 14 people. I'd say it was like, Paul, tell me I think about 70% of the people were familiar with the school and maybe 30% weren't.
I think that's right. Yeah, most of them either went to school there or went to school there.
Or taught there.
A lot of the teachers come back to see what it was like now after all these years.
Just my mom.
So I stayed mainly at the front desk, as a greeter. So Paul talked mostly to the people down at the other end of the hall. So any interesting comments that you had from the folks?
No, nothing unexpected. There was people thought that it was an opportunity that the district should take advantage of. No really unique ideas, just they were more looking at to see what it was like, what kind of condition it was in, and they wanted to talk about the warrant items and what they actually meant, what they'd be voting for or not voting for.
Okay.
And there was one date that's passed and there's two upcoming, right?
Right, Wednesday from
19.
4 to 6, and then next Monday from 9 to 11.
And have there been many registrations for those too?
No.
No, not so
I
much.
think we got another 5 or 6 or maybe 10 people registered. I'm gonna change the website tonight to advertise the specific times and put my phone number. If anybody wants to come at a different time, we can open it up at any time. So.
Right. Well, I think it's good. At least 14 people showed up for that first one.
Yeah. So that's good. So if anything else for this evening? So if I could ask Paul and Seth to maybe come to 7 o'clock next Wednesday. Meeting starts
Sure.
at 7:30.
Yep.
Mhm.
And, we can go over the warrant and the scripts. Ray's
Were we
gonna
gonna-
send,
Oh, I'm sorry. Go on.
Ray, I'm gonna have you send everybody a copy of the script,
Yes, I will do that.
and then we can review it at that time. And I think that's all.
Were we gonna approve minutes from April?
Sorry, yeah. So we have minutes from the 12th and minutes from the 26th. I found on April 12th minutes, just mostly Scribner's errors. In the first paragraph, lines 12, it's just Catalyst Architects, not Road. And the third from the bottom sentence, it should say Fran Park stated, not Fran Park State. And the last paragraph on that page, it should say Fran Parks believes instead of beliefs. First paragraph on page 2, beliefs needs to be changed in the second line to believes. Second paragraph, middle sentence, my name needs an S again. And those are all the changes I found. So could I have a motion to accept the April 12th, 2021 Prudential Committee meeting minutes with corrections as noted?
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
second?
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you,
Aye.
thank you. And the only just line 13 in the first paragraph. My name needs an S, last name needs an S there also. And so I'll accept a motion to approve the minutes of the April 26th, 2021 Prudential Committee meeting.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Thanks for reminding me.
Time.
Okay. All right. So is there any public comment?
I do.
No.
Yes.
Carol Zace, 86 Putnam Avenue. Just a clarification on a couple things that Ray Perone, Treasurer Perone said. Did I hear you correctly? And I don't think that's correct, is that the assistant superintendent of the water department was not replaced with a lower level staff. They created a new position for a lower level person, and they are job sharing with their existing staff to fill the assistant superintendent's role until they decide what they're going to do. So it may have just been wordsmithing, but I just wanted to clarify that. Is that your understanding, Treasurer?
I understand they replaced the assistant superintendent with basically a trainee. Now, what they're going to do in the future, I don't know.
Well, the
But
training.
that's what's happened,
the
and that's what the
training is
impact
not-
on the budget, and
Yeah,
that's the way the F-22 budget is. There's no assistant treasurer or assistant superintendent position in the new budget.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. So I guess it's just a wordsmithing. They didn't replace the assistant superintendent with a lower level person. They created a new position and are no longer having an assistant superintendent. So we're saying the same thing. Just wanted to be clear. And a question on the finances for the additional salary, which is, I have no problem with that, but didn't you guys do this once already? Or is this just a redo of that? That's my question.
Do
The
what?
water department did that earlier in the year upon the departure. I think they did in December upon the departure of the assistant superintendent.
No, not the water department, the finance department. Didn't you do a salary adjustment or bonus or something for?
There's no bonus.
overtime?
What my point was that the finance department salary, or rather the Prudential Committee salary article, will be exceeded by virtue of the wages paid to the treasurer and the assistant treasurer due to the added time required for the COVID grant application and the refinancing.
Okay, so was that the same as the overtime that was voted for Lisa as well? Or is that something else?
We voted for, the committee voted to authorize me to pay the assistant treasurer for overtime during the preparation of COVID, which was at the same time as the preparation for the ambulance reimbursement grant. They both happened at the same time. That overtime would be part of the variance that I will be asking the committee to fund.
Okay, thank you. That clarifies it. And then my third one is, what it was the $11,562 spent already from the space needs study this year? And when did you guys need to vote on that, or no, you didn't need to vote on that spending? I don't recall a discussion about spending already for the space needs. I thought that was coming up in this district's meeting.
There would be no need to vote on spending any of the $11,602, if my memory is correct. That is money left over in a grant, and that spending authorization stands. That money could be spent under the authority of the Prudential Committee. It has not been spent. It is left over from what was previously spent on the space needs study.
Okay, I must have read your chart wrong. It looked like it had been spent already, but okay, thank you. And then in regards to your public comment, one of the ideas I would have shared was to say public comment except for when you are already in executive session or something like that. But thank you for thinking of us public comment people. Appreciate it. That's all. See you guys next week.
Okay,
Night.
it looks like we're all set. I'll accept a motion to adjourn. Is
So moved.
there a second?
A second?
All those in favor?
Aye. Will I
Thank
see
you.
you all at the Civic Association meeting coming up? Are we all going to that?
I